Welcome back to Life on Cars. It's workshop catch-up time for the MR2. Let's go! So, like I said at the start of the video, just want to take you through a little catch-up on some of the jobs that I've just recently completed on the MR2. So, I've just taken advantage of a really nice spring-like day in the UK, and I've changed the thermostat. Looking a bit ropey, isn't it? Looks like the original thermostat. So that's probably been in the engine 34 years. So just as a bit of a preventative maintenance measure, I changed that. And I also, although I ruled that out on the video where we were talking about the engine not running properly, and I did test the coolant temperature sensor, because these are so cheap, they're only a few pounds. For preventative maintenance, I've fitted a new one of those while I was on. So let me just take you through how this was actually achieved. So I didn't actually film the procedure for doing this because it's such a fiddly little thing to get to, but I thought I might as well give you some tips if you do fancy tackling this yourself. So as I've previously mentioned, this is a Japanese domestic market MR2, and it does have aircon. So down here, this is the air conditioning pump, which had me slightly concerned because the part I need to get to for the thermostat is in this housing here. Basically there's a nut there, 10mm, and then there's another one down under there that you can't see, which you have to basically feel your way into. This is the coolant pipe here. I actually left that on. I didn't disturb that. I left that on, and I basically unbolted the thermostat housing here and the other bolt underneath. And what I was worried about was whether or not the housing would be able to come past the aircon pump. If it hadn't, that would have been a right chew on to get this to come back over enough to clear this. But as it happened, Toyota engineered these well, and even though the aircon pump is fitted to the engine block, this housing has got enough clearance to come back over. On some cars as well, there's a bolt that connects a bracket from the dipstick to the thermostat housing, but on my car, this 3SGE JDM, there's no bolt, so it's literally the two nuts. So it's literally that nut there, and then the other one, which is down underneath there. I'll get a mirror, I'll see if I can show you. The other thing to point out is, you see that mark there, that line? That line is where you'll line up the jiggle pin on the thermostat, so that the little hole in the thermostat is at the top to allow the air out. You don't need to worry about a gasket either, because the thermostat comes with a rubber O-ring. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. Just make sure the mating surfaces are clean of rust, and then once you unbolt this, that comes back, all the water runs out, and you can put your new thermostat in with your new seal and bolt it back together and get on with the coolant change, which is what I did next. Let's just see if I can get a mirror and show you where the other nut is. So using the mirror there, you can just about make out the lower nut, and yeah, that's why I didn't film this, because it was going to be almost impossible to film removing the lower nut there. You can just see it in the light there. The big nut in the middle is a drain screw, which again, I never touched that. there's no need, because if you're taking it off, well, it's all going to come out anyway, all the coolant. So yeah, you can see the two nuts, a bit fiddly to get to, but doable, just about. So what about the coolant temperature sensor? Well, to get to that is a bit awkward as well, and trying to get something onto it is quite tough. But I managed to find the perfect tool. It's a 19mm wheel nut socket. Believe it or not, that fits in no problem at all, and it goes over the sensor and fits it. Yeah, if you watch the episode on the running rough, the engine running rough, you'll see me test that in situ, so you'll see where it is. But yeah, like I say, if you ever need to change it, deep 19mm socket for a wheel nut is the perfect tool. So what else have I been up to? So obviously, once I'd done the thermostat, I had to change the coolant, and it was kind of desperate for a coolant change. The amount of dirty water that came out was unbelievable. But just a top tip, if you're going to do your coolant change, it's worth in advance getting some new rubber seals that go on these drains. So there's one at the top of the radiator, one at the bottom, and there is one here with two seals on it. Sorry, they're not really drains, they're air bleeds. So that's the air bleed for the heater matrix, and that's the air bleed for the radiator. And then there's one down at the bottom, which is the drain. And it's worth tracking down some seals beforehand. This is the seal that I took off the one at the top of the radiator. It's gone hard, and as you can see, it's distorted as well. So yeah, I'd advise you to replace those. I was quite lucky, and the local hardware shop had some new ones. So yeah, I've just now that the coolant's done, I'm just painting up the brackets for the radiator, and I've given the top of the radiator a little paint over as well, just to stop any further corrosion. Oh, the other thing I did as well is I replaced the coolant cap, because as you can see, it's looking a bit tired, and the rubbers have gone absolutely solid. So you can pick these up quite cheaply. So I've popped a brand new coolant cap on it as well. So I'd recommend you do that. So I can put the cover back on there now. Yeah, the coolant was it was really bad. It'd been left for a long time, and there was quite a lot of brown sludge in there. So I managed to flush it through with fresh water until it ran clear, and then put some coolant in. But I'll be honest with you, the colour of the coolant is still quite not to my liking. It's still a little bit, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's much better, but I think there's still a little bit of dirt in the system, especially as it's quite difficult to flush the heater matrix on these cars. So the plan is to leave that coolant in for a few months, let it circulate, and then maybe sort of September, October time before the winter, I'm going to drain the coolant out again and put some fresh in, because by that time the new stuff that's in there now will have circulated, and then we'll probably get the remaining dirty stuff out of the heater matrix or anywhere else that I haven't quite managed to flush it out. and then it'll be good to sit over the winter. But yeah, I'm just pleased that I've got that job done. I'm pleased that it wasn't too bad, the thermostat, to be honest. Just a bit fiddly getting to those 10mm nuts, but yeah, it wasn't too bad a job, and it bled up quite easily as well. So I'm just reinstalling these radiator brackets. Freshly cleaned radiator panel. A little wipe over with bumper trim before I fix it, just to improve the appearance slightly. It's quite good stuff, this Maguire's tyre gel. Works well on trims as well. Almost looks brand new now, doesn't it? Let's get the clips in. Lovely and very satisfying. Okay, I'm not putting the other plastic trim back in yet because I am going to look to bleed the clutch fluid at some point, so I'm going to leave the plastic trim out of the way for now. But yeah, that's good. What else have I been up to then? So I have cleaned up the old Toyota toolkit bag, which was in a real mess. That's come up quite nicely, so that can go back in the frunk. There we are. Oh, one other thing to mention, the power steering leak turned out to be a bit of spillage that had sort of crept down from the reservoir area. So once that was wiped off and cleaned, then I don't need to worry about that. So that one's gone. So yeah, there you go. Quick workshop catch up on the MR2. Some of the jobs I've been able to get ticked off while we've got some decent weather. I'm glad that cooling system's got some fresh coolant in now, so we'll let that circulate for a few months. Hope you enjoyed the quick catch up. And if you're new to the channel, give us a like and a subscribe. That would be fantastic. And we'll continue on with the MR2 on future episodes or other projects on Life on Cars. Drive safely, take care, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye bye. Bye bye.